Do you guys ever struggle with your toss on the serve? If so, this video is for you. We're going to be going over tips and tricks to make sure that you get a consistent toss on your serve. Guys, the toss is the #1 thing to hit a good serve regardless of what level you are. Everything else in the serve is predicated upon that you have a good toss. So many players, they struggle with an inconsistent toss. So let's get into the tips. So #1, where should your toss be while you're serving, okay? If you are a right-handed player, you want that toss up and out in front to the right. Once again, I want to get my toss up and out in front to the right. So when I make contact, it will be in the proper position, okay? If I'm a left-handed player, I want the toss up and out in front to the left. Guys, I'm not a left-handed player, so if I have bad tosses on camera, it's because I'm not a lefty, okay? But out in front and to the left, right? So if you guys think, I like to use a clock with all my students, right? 12 o'clock's up here, 6 o'clock's down here, right? 12 o'clock's up here, 6 o'clock's down here. If I'm serving as a right-handed player, I want my toss at 1 o'clock. And we're talking about first serve, okay? I want my toss at 1 o'clock. If I'm a left-handed player, I want my toss at 11 o'clock. 12 o'clock's here, 6 o'clock's here. I want my toss at 11 o'clock. So I'm going to go over a righty, but guys, once again, if you guys are left-handed, just do the opposite, okay? So when I toss, I want it up and out in front to the right at 1 o'clock. Notice, right, it is out here when I toss, right? I'm gonna toss the ball up, it should drop around the racket every single time. I want it out in front of me, and I want it out to the right. So then when I go up to the ball, I'll be able to have proper contact. What so many players do is that they toss the ball behind them, they toss it outside, everywhere except where it should be, right? Guys, if you guys have a bad toss, make sure you just let it go. You guys can toss the ball up as many times as you want. You can let it bounce. You can do that for 50 times and you're allowed to do it. The only thing that you can't do is you can't let your racket touch the ball. If your racket touches the ball, it's a fault. Any contact with the racket, it's a fault, right? So guys, if you guys have a bad toss, #1 is to just let it go. So many players, they just hit bad tosses. Let that toss go, catch it, and repeat. Guys, you could even get your opponent upset because you could keep on tossing it. He'll be waiting, and then you could serve. I used to do that when I played in college. But once again, just toss the ball, get the proper toss. If it's a bad toss, then just let it go. So that's #1. We went over where the toss should be, up and out in front for right-handed players, 1 o'clock, for left-handed players, 11 o'clock. And #2, guys, just don't hit bad tosses. Be selective, right? Think about it in baseball, right? When a batter, if they have a bad pitch, they're going to let it go. It's a ball. They only hit good pitches. Same thing with the serve toss, okay? So how do we get a consistent toss every single time? Well, there are a couple ways, all right? And #1 is you want your arm always straight when you guys are serving, right? So many players, they bend their arm. When I bend my arm, the toss is going to be in different places. So what I need to do is I need to A, make sure my arm is straight, and B, what I want to do, and this will help you get a real consistent toss, is you want to make sure that your palm is up. So once again, I want A, my arm straight, and I want B, I want to make sure that my palm is up every single time. If you can keep your arm straight and your palm up, you will be able to have a better toss, more consistent toss while on court. Regarding the palm up, I love to use this example with my students, right? I want you guys to pretend that you guys have a tray of drinks, right? You're holding a tray of drinks, you're a waiter, waitress, holding a tray of cocktails, we'll say cocktails, right? When you toss, you want to keep that tray up. You don't want that tray to tip over, fall over, right? So watch, what happens? If I'm tossing, I'm holding the tray right now, right? I'm holding the tray up. If I go like this, what? All the drinks are going to spill on me, right? Or if I go like this or to the side or something, the drinks are going to spill. So the whole goal with that example is, once again, I just want to keep my palm up. So think that you're holding a tray of drinks next time you're on court. What so many players do when they toss for their serve is that they move their hand this way or they move their hand this way. No, you guys just want to keep your palm up the whole time. If you guys move your hand, that's going to make your toss more inconsistent. So once again, just toss, keep your arm straight, and keep your palm up. Another thing when people toss, right? So #1, we went over how to get a proper toss location by palm up, arm straight. But another thing is you guys need not only that toss to be out in front, but you guys need that toss to be high. You don't need that toss necessarily super high, but you want it as high as you need that when you make contact with the serve, you are fully extended. So once again, let me say this again. It doesn't matter how high you toss the ball, right? I could toss this ball super high, and if I let it drop when I serve, if I make contact here, it's not a good toss. So you want to toss where you can fully extend on your serve. So how do we make sure we have a high toss every single time? Well, we already went over the palm up. That'll help you as well. But then the other thing, oh my God, there's a bug on me. All right, sorry. So once again, so you always want the palm up, which we went over right there. But then the other thing that you want, right? You want to make sure that your hand doesn't go down. This tray of drinks thing, this will help you get a high toss. If you struggle with a low toss, 9 times out of 10, when you toss, you're going like this once you're done. But this versus this is such a big difference. When I'm going like this, what's happening? My body is going up, right? When I go like this, if I go like this, what's happening? My body's going down every single time. So what so many players do is that they serve, their hands down, and then their body's down, and they're having a low toss. So what you need to do is you need to always make sure that your palm is up and it's staying up. It will, number one, help you get a more consistent toss down front, but B, it'll help that height, all right? So once again, you always want to make sure that your palm stays up every single time that you hit, because if I drop my palm, it's not gonna work. Okay, so I want a straight arm and I want my palm up. And if it's a bad toss, I'm gonna let it go. So I don't wanna be moving my hand this way, that way. I don't wanna be letting my palm be down. You always want your palm up so my body can go up. So that's that with the toss. Then another thing with the toss where people go wrong, all right? Let's talk about how to make sure that let's talk about how to hold the ball, right? When you guys toss, you don't want the ball to be in your fingers, and you don't want it to be straight in your palm. You want it to be kind of in your palm, but not fully in your palm, a little bit on your fingers. It shouldn't cross halfway, like the halfway point of your fingers. What so many players do is that when they toss, they hold it with all their fingers. That's when it starts to get inconsistent because they start flicking the ball. You want to, once again, keep it in your palm so you can go palm up and up to the ball. If you guys see a lot of spin on your toss, you don't want that. You do not want spin on your toss. If you do see spin on your toss, it's probably because you're using your fingers. So once again, you want to keep the ball not all the way on your palm, but more on your palm than on your fingers while you toss, and you will hit a much more, and you will have a much more effective toss. If you guys see spin, once again, check, are my fingers or is my palm on? So here's a little hack to make sure that you get the toss in the right position every single time, okay? So I'm gonna turn this way. If I release my toss below my hip, right? If I release my toss below my hip, the ball's gonna go out forward, way too forward, more forward than I want it. If I release the ball above my shoulder, right? So when I let go of the ball, if I release the ball above my shoulder, it's gonna go back behind me. So what you wanna do when you're on court tossing, if you guys have trouble with location and you're keeping a straight arm, palm up, you're holding it in the proper place, the ball's not spinning, you wanna release it between your shoulder and your hip. If you can release the ball where you let go of the ball between your shoulder and your hip, you will get that consistent toss. Too many players, what they do is they either release way below their hip, the ball flies too forward, or they release, I missed it, or they release above their shoulder and the ball goes back. So when you release that ball, once again, you want it between your shoulder and your hip. So guys, I hope these tips help you. Feel free to let me know in the comments below if you guys have any questions. I just put a link to the top 50 tennis tips, 10 tips, I think maybe even 12 tips are on the serve, so feel free to check it out. It's in the description, it's a free download. I use it, all those tips, those are my best tips I used with my students last year. But yeah, I hope these tips help you improve your toss. Guys, if you guys don't have a good toss, your serve will never be consistent, it will never be good. The toss is the #1 thing with the serve. So once again, just to review, number one, you want that toss if you're a right-handed player at 1 o'clock, if you're a left-handed player at 11 o'clock. Once again, for the first serve only. Number two, you want your arm straight and you want your palm up when you toss every single time. I want to have a straight arm and I want to keep my palm up. And number 3, when you hold the ball in your hand, you do not want the ball all the way on your fingers. You don't want it all the way on your palm. You want it kind of on your palm and a little bit on your fingers. And number 4, when you toss, right, you want to make sure that you are staying up every single time. You're keeping your arm straight. You're keeping your palm up. You don't want to drop. If there's spin, that's not good. And lastly, when you release the ball, make sure it's between your shoulder and your hip. So when I release this ball, it's between my shoulder and my hip every single time. And if it's a bad toss, make sure you let it go. Guys, if you guys can remember anything from this video, once again, just please, if you guys hit a bad toss, just let it go, hit another, take another toss. Once again, if the racket doesn't touch the ball, you're perfectly fine. You can do as many times as you want. Have a good one, guys, and happy serving. See ya.